Hello, this is Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and this podcast series is called Spiritual Immersion, Taking the Plunge. And the intention of these podcasts is to support and empower you to learn who you are as a spiritual being, as a human spiritual being, having this experience in human form. Pretty interesting, pretty interesting. And most of us have learned based on what's thought of as domestication. We've been trained to think the way that we think that creates this consensus view of reality. And though we have religions and spiritual traditions that give us inklings of a different reality, we're trained to think only in terms of this fear-based manner of being in the world. And at some point, it starts to not work. And at some point we go, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And quite often people have spiritual midlife crisis. That crisis could happen for adolescence. That crisis could happen in your 20s or 30s or 40s. But at some point there's a point where you go, this doesn't make sense anymore. It's not in alignment with what I know to be true in myself, but I keep thinking that because we're trained to be this, there must be some truth in the reality of what we've been trained in. And it's just fascinating when we go, okay, that's one way that we've been trained, but there are other ways that we've been trained, or other people that have been trained differently. So for instance, when I think about the United States as a way of being in the world, a way of our reality, consensus reality, our belief system, is very different than other people's in the world. Very different in some ways. And so it's interesting to go, wait a minute, why are the Chinese having a better effort here? Or why is Iceland so much more effective at utilizing natural resources without hurting and harming the environment? Why is that? Why is that possible? And yet we're not taking action in the United States. So I use that as a sense of, why is it that a certain culture has certain perspectives? And if I'm part of that culture, it's like, I should think this way, or I should believe this because this is what my culture says. But when we begin to get a little bit more conscious and awake and go, wait a minute, why is it that these countries have a better health system, better education? What is happening that they have, their happiness fulfillment factor is higher than ours? What's that about? And when I can question reality, now I can begin to think maybe differently. This is true for religions, or race, or sexuality. It plays in all different areas of our life to go, wait a minute, I'm trained to be this, but that doesn't allow me to consider the possibility of I'm also something more. I can think outside the box. And so this particular podcast is about that free will, that we can continue to believe in what we've been trained to believe. We're at free choice, right? And we're free, we have free will to potentially go, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. How come these people have something? And that's what I want. So I could make that happen because they made it happen, so I probably can make it happen. Now I have free will to make a choice. And that's a good thing. We want people to be of free will and be able to hear their own thinking, hear their own thoughts, know their own thoughts. This is fundamental to every spiritual principle. Defer to no one. To thine own self be true. The only way we can be true to ourselves is to go, wait a minute. Though my mom and dad did A, B, and C, and my religion said X, L, and K, I don't have to buy into that anymore. I can choose for myself to think the way that feels right for me. And this is a very good thing. At the same time, so that's a very good thing. And that's what this is, for me, this whole human process is about the evolution, the elevating of our consciousness to know more and to allow more truths to be true. Like, wow, every culture has its own perspective. Every individual has their own perspective. There is no right, wrong, or good or bad. It's everyone's own perspective. And I get to choose with my free will to choose what's that for me. And that's what I'm encouraging and suggesting and excited about for you, is you get to make those choices up. You get to decide for yourself. At the same time, quite often, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, we've got a pandemic going on here in 2020. We have natural disasters occurring more often than not. We have climate change. We've got all kinds of things that are happening. And we go, wait a minute, where's the free will in that? Like, I didn't choose to have to be isolated in my home. I didn't choose to lose my job. I didn't choose, and we just check off the boxes of what I didn't choose. And so where am I in free will about that? That's a really, 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 really good question. That's really hard for a lot of people to get. For me, so by talking about me, it's not that I'm right, but to find a philosophy, find a principles, find it, like people will ask those questions. This is really part of our insanity. We ask those questions rhetorically. We don't necessarily start looking for the answer to that. We just go, hey, it can't be true. We have free will because look at what's happening to me, and I didn't, and now we're a victim to the circumstances. And so at that point, there's a way to say, okay, that's how I've been perceiving. I've been trained to see myself that way. I've been trained to be a victim. I see how I can do that. I see how I continue to choose that path of victimizing, that I'm victimized by the world, by the politics, by this pandemic. As opposed to going, wait a minute here. Can I actually take back my power? Can I actually empower myself to see how I have free will here, how I can be a choice here? And begin to do the research so that you are empowering yourself to know the answer for yourself, as opposed to going, no, I'm just a victim. It's like, okay, just that's where you're at. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to experience. Okay. And people go, no, I don't want to experience that. It's like, okay, so what are you open to seeing? What are you open to doing? What are you open to? And that's where a good conversation begins. So sometimes we don't have free will over our environment, our environmental circumstances. We don't have free will over this pandemic. We can't necessarily in this moment wave our magic wands, and make it all go away. So now what? Or we have circumstances like our children are sick, or our parents die. There's grief, there's loss. The financial situations are changing. There may be a loss of a job. Those kinds of things. And you go, wait, I didn't choose that. And so there's the theory that says, oh yeah, you chose this before you got here in this planet. You chose this patterning so that you could learn what you wanted to learn or needed to learn in this life to become more fulfilled in your human spirit. So there's that line of thinking, which is really good, but really difficult. But it's, for me, that's what I know to be true is I came here to learn things. So here's this pandemic, or here's this global warming, or here's the political situation, the financial situation. What's mine to learn here? And when I can go to that place, what's mine to learn here? Now I can say, well, I really need to learn more compassion for myself and other people. I need to learn more generosity for myself and other people. I need to learn to actually be with my feelings and my the craziness of the uncertainty. I need to know how to be human in this situation. I need to learn these things because that's what else is there sometimes. I need to be able to grieve. I need to let go of what I have no power over. accept the things I cannot change. I need to learn to do that. I need to learn to admit I'm powerless right now. So all of these places you might go, well, yeah, but where's the free will? It's like, well, in the sense of struggling and overwhelm, you can be a choice to say, okay, I admit I'm overwhelmed. I admit I'm powerless. You know, the moment you say uncle, something happens. Uncle, as in you're in the struggle, somebody's got you, around the neck and they say uncle, say uncle. And so finally when you say uncle, that goes away. That point of what do you need to learn? It's like, here's what I need to learn. It's like, okay, are you willing to learn that? Are you willing to use your free will to learn that? Are you willing to use your free will to let go of a pattern and habits and ways of thinking in the world that keep you in struggling and survival and pain and suffering? Are you willing to use your free will to make those choices? And most people will say, I don't want to. And you can use your free will to say, I don't want to, and not do it. You have free will. It's funny. It is funny. Because it's like, when you're in the midst of struggling, and we are all in the midst of struggling on some level, when we go, okay, what is that in there? And how do I be present to that? How do I bring my free will to be present to that? We're exercising something that is so, so empowering to our whole being. And in that, we bring about a fulfillment at a level we might not understand for a while, but is so, so true. So the principle of to thine own self be true, defer to no one, utilizing your free will to know yourself and align yourself with your highest truth, your highest knowing. That's a great thing. And it becomes fun. It becomes fun. All right. That's it for today. If you would like, you can visit my website at theparadigmshifts.com for blogs, videos, and other offerings. If you're interested in coaching with me, just give me an email. Send me an email at rosie@theparadigmshifts.com. All right. Blessings to you. Big hugs, and bye for now.